Morning. Right up and on time. How is everybody doing this good old morning? Alrighty. Let's see if I can have that going in the background. Nah, we won't do that. Okay, so we got some things on the docket for this week ahead. I'm actually still pulling up some stuff on the email I did while I am streaming on time. I didn't quite have enough time to go through all the outlooks and stuff that I wanted to get out today for the research today. But these are the main topics I'm going to be covering, which are the developments going on in the United States and Iran, the developments with the UAW. They've agreed to a 97% vote of confidence, or just a preliminary agreement that, yeah, between all of the members in the UAW, the United Auto Workers Union, which is the oldest and largest auto union, the largest auto union in the United States. If they don't get a deal by the middle of September with Ford, Stellantis, and GM, you're gonna have hundreds or thousands of workers go on strike at some of the most critical auto manufacturing plants in the United States. That's a big deal. So they got about a little under 3 weeks to come to some sort of agreement. Otherwise, shit's gonna hit the fan with used car prices by Q4. No one's gonna be, a lot of people who have some, spare capital and they like, buying a new car. They're just normal person thinking about buying a new car. New car prices will go through the roof around November, December, and it'll be fucking impossible to get any sort of new car for any sort of reasonable price. It'll be fucking ridiculous. Let's see, what else is there? There's US Iran. Let's see if I can do this off the top of my head, because I don't have the information right in front of me. I mean, I could just go to the Plan to Profit Discord, check out the research. I'm gonna, test myself here. Let's see here. Yeah, there have been secret meetings held for the last, I don't know, like 2-3 months, apparently, between the United States and Iran about lifting the sanctions, allowing them to export oil again, because the new paradigm in the United States, at least in the elite in the United States government, is do whatever you can to hurt Russia by any means necessary. And the one thing that's actually keeping Russia abound right now economically is their energy exports still to the BRICS nations. Well, Iran now is going to be a brand new BRICS nation, apparently. As a tangent here from the US and Iran topics, BRICS expanding. I really agree with Peter Zian's analysis from earlier last week about the BRICS expansion. The membership within BRICS already have a hard time coming to any sort of agreement. So by expanding the membership, now they have to get more consensus across more people, which will make it more likely they just are. What is it? What was? There'll be a brand new sort of League of Nations situation where they just can't get shit done. I mean, none of them really want China to be the de facto leader, and India has one foot in the West and one foot in the East. And now they're allowing, I think it's Egypt in, and I mean, I don't know too much about the micro or the macro economics or geopolitics of Egypt, but Based off what I heard, and not just from Zion, um, effectively the United States is just paying Egypt just not to go to war endlessly with Israel, apparently, and they're happy to be bought and paid for, effectively. But when you are a poor country, that money does kind of outweigh the utility of going to war. So ultimately, it's kind of a win-win. No more having to send U.S. citizens to go fight off on some war, and these guys actually have some dollar liquidity to grow their economy. I think that's a win-win for Egypt. But back onto U.S. and Iran. Yeah, there's also a video from Patrick Bet David. If you need, like, if you know nothing about what's going on with U.S. and Iran, there's a video that came out like 3 years ago, like just after or before COVID, of the state of history. That is how we got to the current point in time. It was released like about 3 years ago by Patrick Bet David, the valuetainment guy. He actually has a fantastic video on it. It's like 30 minutes long, and it goes over the entire history and the economic policies and really what you need to know. So a big incentive I was talking about, right, is US, they want to hurt Russia as much as possible with this US Iran stuff. Well, guess who Iran's biggest export nation is for their largest commodity, which is oil? It's China. And the one place that's been keeping Russia afloat economically is oil exports to India and Russia and to all these other nations. And then to some extent, actually, still to Western nations on these sort of ghost ships, which is uninsured, not so easily tracked ships. And also, apparently, there's this thing where they have one ship, one of these ghost ships, meet some sort of registered ship out in international waters. They turn off their transponders, and then they take the Russian oil and they mix it with like Saudi oil or something, and then send the mixed Russia Saudi oil to its final destination, and then Russians get a cut of that. Yeah, there's a lot of shenanigans going on to try and keep Russia afloat right now. But man, it'd be a huge whammy to Russia economically and their prospects of being able to keep up this kind of war of attrition with the Ukrainians if suddenly Iran comes online with several million barrels per day worth of oil to China, India, and the West. Like, that, people have been talking for years, like, oh man, it's going to be such a huge boon to energy, and it'll reduce inflation for the entire world. Like, people have been talking about the economic ramifications of getting Iran back into the game for a long time now. And there's been a lot of dog whistles about, like, oh, will they, won't they actually come back into the economy? And this is just another rumor, right? But when these rumors do pop up, you never know which one's going to be the quote-unquote real one. So you always keep your eye on the ball when the rumors start popping up, because those aren't rumors to take lightly. That could have, Iranian crude is trading at a $10 discount right now to Brent. So this is a big fucking deal. It's cheap oil, man. It's cheap oil, and that'll bring my gas prices down. And as an American, I would love that. Bring down my inflation all around. Give it to me. Pump my veins full of it, please. But also, it'd give them, the money they'd need to actually, like, build up their nation. But now you're getting to geopolitical, cultural difference stuff when you go down that rabbit hole of a topic. Oh yeah, thank you guys for for liking and watching and all the good stuff. I'm going to be interacting with you guys mostly through the chat today here on YouTube. I got YouTube actually open, so if you type in there, I'll actually see you. And if you hop into the Discord, I'll also actually see you. So if you want to chat about some things, we absolutely can chat about some things. And then we'll go over some US dollar continuation stuff on the charts. And then we got Panama. This is a relatively newer topic. I'm going to actually switch over the screen real quick because I found a news article that just came out like 2 is from a legit newspaper on industry talking about the potential economic ramifications. So, and because this is a relative super legit to go through. Panama Canal traffic jams. Will the supply chain suffer? You can see this is really, really brand new. Came out like 2 hours ago. Thank Lord for the internet and the speed of information. Droughts affecting the region and decades of poor water management have created ongoing issues for the waterway. So let's see here. Because the tonnage is restricted, some companies have to offload cargo, specifically containers. Quote, they unload some of those containers and put them on trucks, and they'll move them across or put them on the railroad. Associate Professor of Marketing International Business, University of Akron, author of The Canal of Panama and Globalization, Growth and Challenges in the 21st Century. Holy shit, I gotta check out what this guy's opinion. I found an expert. I gotta check out that dude's opinion on this whole situation with the Panama Canal, because that is one hell of a book title or a paper title, whatever it is. That is some legit information to know. Okay, next one, quote, of course, unloading from a ship and putting it onto a train or putting it onto a truck and then driving it or railing it across 50 miles of Panama and picking it up on the other side. Oh, so they can't go through the locks, the water locks on Panama. And putting it on that same ship as it goes into the ocean on the other side costs way more time and money, of course. And oftentimes they don't wait for those shipments to happen, so they might have to wait for another vessel. That container might have to sit for a week or two. Okay, that's not fantastic. Yeah, so they've had to restrict the maximum weight of the ships, apparently. Damn. So let's see here. More than 14,000 ships crossed the canal in 2022. The Panama Canal and transport more than 40% of consumer goods traded between the Northeast Asia and U.S. East Coast. Damn. It's all run by fresh water. They don't use the ocean water to raise and lower the ships in the locks. They use fresh water, which of course comes from rain. Oh, okay, so now we actually know what's going on in Panama. So the locks that make the ships go up and down, I'm assuming you guys know how the fucking Panama Canal works. This is like middle school stuff. You'll learn this real easy in like a little bit of American history. Actually, just in any history class like around the world, you learn about the Panama Canal. Yeah. I didn't know that the locks had fresh water compared to ocean water, actually. So that fresh water comes from rain. Panama is in a huge ass drought. So they don't have enough water for the locks to work. At least they don't have enough water for the locks to work to lift a ship as heavy as that. To get the site under control. Zooming in, zooming out is funky. Anyways. So they don't have enough fresh water to lift super heavy boats in these locks that you're seeing. And that's literally the whole story. There's not enough water to lift the boats up and down between the locks of the Panama Canal. So you're either going to have to decrease the capacity of your ships and ship less cargo, which means now you're underloading the boats, and now the space on the boats becomes more valuable. Yeah, that means shipping prices are going to go up, and when shipping prices are going to go up, that's going to lead to increases in costs for the end consumer again. So now you have another thing that can re-accelerate inflation prices. Great. So on top of the UAW, on top of Panama, we now are hoping and praying to our Lord and Savior, the negotiators at the table of the U.S.-Iran deal, to print oil for us. Oh man. And I got some articles here talking about like how hawkish all these damn central banks are getting, and then China's going down the shitter. Oh, market's ready for swings after high rates mantra at Jackson Hole. Policy sensitive treasury yields rose on Powell comments. Holy mackerel. Yeah, man. Getting that oil has become a matter of economic security. So, long and short-term impacts. So, the same guy who wrote that fantastic titled book, The Professor of Akron, same dude, says consumer goods is arguably the industry that'll be affected the most due to the current weight restrictions on container vessels that account for a huge amount of international trade. Although one of the canal's most important jobs is hosting LNG ships, I think that means light natural gas, if I'm not mistaken. Don't worry about the immediate gas energy crisis. Okay, cool. So it was LNG if they're talking immediately about energy. Context. However, companies are keeping a close eye on the canal's situation. Quote, their ears are popping up and they're like, well, we've got to be paying attention to what's going on here, Thomas says. Yeah, dude talks like me, huh? The potential supply chain repercussions are also largely dependent on what the coming weeks and months hold. Thomas mentions that Panama has been getting rain and storms in the past few weeks, possibly signaling that the wet season has just been delayed with the late start to rainfall. So they're saying we might get to September, October, and the canal will be operating fine with plenty of fresh water because of the rainy season coming if it's just delayed. The bigger issue, one that is only exacerbated by drought, is the country's water management. Offloading and restricting the number of weight of vessels are mere temporary fixes for this overarching problem. Man, that sponsored section is flickering. That's weird. Although with using water for things like consumption, agriculture, technology, and waste, Panama relies exclusively on hydropower for their electricity. With this reliance on water for many critical components of the country's economy, Thomas says there needs to be a better emphasis on water conservation. It takes time because that's culturally, that's societal, that's political. It's much more nuanced. And you can't snap your fingers and just say, okay, everyone's going to do better with water. It doesn't quite work that way. Quote, the shippers will pay the initial cost right now, and the consumers will ultimately, they always do, will have to pay whatever the extra costs are for this. But you could be reading the story next year and the year after and the year after that for many years to come until they have proper water conservation techniques. Okay, so he's saying this is going to be a perpetual issue and a perpetual risk that has to be watched out for. And the quote doesn't end there, apparently. Actually, no, it ends here. There we go. As for the canal's prospects, Thomas has a positive outlook over time. He sees Panama adapting to effective water conservation efforts, optimizing the canal for future conditions. I think the bigger view, longer term, is that the canal is in good shape. It's in good hands, he says. I think the things that will ultimately determine the future of the canal, and its role is the supply chain are much more market driven. Great. So less government intervention is making it easier for this guy to do his job, and for all of us to actually get the things that we want. Great, great, great. I know this is supposed to be a trading show, quote unquote, but I'm sorry, this is a market research show. For charts, when going over charts is appropriate. And sometimes things are not on the damn charts that are actually important. Also, I need to sync globally, unhide. There is my trade for the day. Another wonderful setup, and I'm still holding that one too. And that one, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Lock these in position so I don't accidentally drag them around. Now would be a good time for requests. Any particular charts. Otherwise, that was my trade for the day. That was the setup I took, and I think I lucked out, in all seriousness, because I thought I missed the trade by not getting in here. Just a few hours earlier, I was like, oh man. Because I saw this thing dump as soon as you got here. I'm like, oh man, that sucks. And then it came up one more time. I'm like, yes, I can short it again. Wonderful. Yes. Man, great. Great. But now the question is, does it actually come down to like here or here for another, I don't know, let's see, 20, 40 pips? We'll see. It's pretty likely at least I'll get at least a 20 pip situation out of this thingamajig. Something along those lines. Go ahead, call it red, timestamp it. As usual, today's the 28th. And shift that over by 1. I mean, it'll probably have a dump situation if it does actually go down here, because it'll probably come down and then bounce up into the close. It'll probably be a pretty flat looking candle on the daily if that's the situation here. Let's see, what else? We can look at our watch list, and I'll make this a little bigger for you guys to see on the watch list side of things. Let's see. So let's set this all by percent change. So Japan moved. Wow. Japan did move, in fact. Man, people are loving Japanese equities right now. Loving it. How does it look like on the week so far? Wow, it'll probably go up a little bit more over the next couple of days here. Probably another a little more than maybe 0.5%, certainly. I'd expect maybe something along these lines here. So you get an up. Call that green. And then probably down into some sort of close. And let's look at our closing odds. Yeah, it's like 7. Yeah, so probably above here would be, call it 32,400 would be. Yeah, and look at that, 32,400 is right there. So somewhere up there, I'd be interested in is shorting. Okey-doke. And set that to red. Oh, that's actually the YouTube link. Okay. There we go. Let's see how that plays out. And the UK getting a nice little rebound, but it didn't really open. Yeah, it's not trading in the next week yet. NASDAQ is open. It is moving higher. Holy hell, it did get shot on. Look at that. Whoa. People really had a negative reaction after NVIDIA, huh? Hello, James. Nice to see you. Stellantis had a nice little pop in their last meeting, but now that the vote's gone through for 97% approval for the strikes, it looks like all. Oh my God, Disney. You got hit so hard. GM. Yeah, so it looks like. Oh my God, the three largest auto workers that have one of the largest strikes ever occurring against them is doing better than Disney. And yeah, there's the poor babe. Nvidia. Yeah, a lot of people lost a lot of money up here. If you watched anything from Hedge Eye breaking down the amount of contracts, it was like 150,000 contracts were traded up here, and they just got totally demolished on that day. Oh my God. One of the biggest movers on the day so far is the Aussie yen. Man, that is one little volatile mother heifer. Yeah, getting the short in right there. It would probably be a stop out here, because now you're dealing in some more randomish territory. Yeah, so that would have sucked getting stopped out on that. Unless you were using, I don't know, we could check out on the week. Uh, I mean, if you did go short here and you put a stop around here, I don't know if I like that because these odds are pretty damn high. Short here and stop up here, but then, you're really shooting for the stars on the downside for yen strength. I don't think that we'll get some. I don't think we'll get yen strength a whole lot this week. I think it's going to have to come after some. As soon as Udaya says anything out of his mouth, it'll probably make the yen stronger. I mean, right now the 10-year JGBs, they're creeping higher, but they're creeping higher at a slower pace here, a much slower pace, which is nice to see. So this is when they lifted their yield curve control from 0.5% to 1%. And now, yeah, and also the seasonality says that it's probably going to drift higher. This thing will just probably drift. I don't think Udaya actually has to change his monetary policy all that much, to be quite frank. I think having that one, until we get closer to that 1% ceiling, until we get to like the 0.9% level where my crosshair is, I don't think we're going to have to worry too much about the Bank of Japan expanding the yield curve control or not. So they'll probably keep monetary policy where it is right now. It'll stay relatively loose. And I mean that's the whole shindig there. On the month, yeah, low's probably in on the month for New Zealand yen. And oh wow, that was a much cleaner setup on the short there. Sure, if you got short here, you stopped. But then you got in again here, if you stop up there, and you definitely made that money back. I mean, could it fall more? For sure. It absolutely could fall more. Yeah. Not much else to do and interpret there. Either the thing will fall more or it'll go sideways for the rest of the day again. How about Aussie dollar? Yeah. That's probably a loss, depending on how far you set the stop. I mean, if you got in here at the most conservative spot, I mean, you're probably stopping out like right there, or maybe you flip the coin and put it here where you just barely miss it. I'm noticing a consistent sizing with these stops, which is like somewhere between 15 to 25 pips is usually how far these things get placed. But yeah, came on down. I decided to go with this pair just simply because I have a much stronger bearish bias on Europe than I do Australia. Although I am still short Australia, just from a safer location where I can watch it from a high cliff. Let's see. Anything else you guys want me to check out? Anything else you guys want me to look at? Whoa, nat gas. Nat gas is running. Holy damn. Look at where it bottomed out for the month. Jeez. Yeah, and this is all no-go. No-go. That is a lot of volatility. You don't know how far that thing's gonna go. Let's check it out for the week. Oh yeah, some people are definitely gonna be taking shots on the short side here. It's gonna look something along these lines, right? So let's see here, quite literally right there. That'd probably be the stop for those guys. And then they'll probably just target this set of probabilities. And look, there's a 3.87 risk to reward trade setup right there. And if that one fails, let's say by the end of the day, you can take another shot here. Your stop's definitely going to be on the farther side. Let's see, that's 2.5. So it's going to probably be like way up there. Yeah. And then you'll probably have to end up taking this one into the close of the week. All right. Trade planning for the week on nat gas is done. Next chart. See how easy this system is? Let's see here. Well, it's not really systems, just some basic statistics. Some basic statistical interpretations. Let's see here. Gold. It hasn't done jack yet. We got that expectation right there, which is nice to see. This, I think, was a long on buying the monthly low. Yeah, you can see. It's kind of the reverse of what I just did on nat gas in this analysis here. It's the revert. The same technique I used there is the same technique here for this trade. Yeah, I really wouldn't want to. I mean, look, if gold hit here or hit here real quick, that'd probably be the end of this trade. That'd probably be the end of this trade. Some people are definitely going to be buying that dip for sure around the 18.9s, but it's a bit hard to tell because that's, nice big fat wedge peak right there, about 15 points you got to deal with. So bit of uncertainty where in that 10-point range to hop in at. We can check out oil. Oil seems to be getting a little bit of reprieve. Into the end of last week. Also hasn't done a whole lot. So let's keep on going. TLT had a nice gap up. But man, expectations for bond prices are horrible right now. And how about the Bitcoin? Still a whole lot of nothing. Okay, I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to cover. Dollar hasn't moved jack, but you can tell some bulls are probably going to be snapping up some lungs around here and having some pretty far stops. Yeah, they'll probably be targeting that high or that high on the week. Yeah. Until future expectations change here going forward, we gotta be real careful about these dollar continuation trades. Yeah, man. There's some good spots to take profit or take a short at if you just spike up there in like the next 36 hours. Like this, not 147 here, like on dollar yen, something like 147.2 to 0.4. The spot right here, that looks quite juicy. And this spot right here, around 148 to 148.2, that spot looks good too. Okie doke. I'll say watching for the guys who were watching, and thank you guys for listening for the guys watching the recording. If you got all the way through this, thumbs up for sure. Share this around. Let's get more guys looking at this analysis, checking out these tools. So one last thing before I actually do head out, I'm gonna show you guys the board here real quick because we got a heck of a lot of new outlooks here. If you're doing anything New Zealand related, you gotta watch this video by Westpac. This is their quarterly economic outlook for New Zealand. Definitely check that out. There's a lot of outlooks that are talking about the strength of the US dollar if you need additional commentary. If I didn't go deep enough for you here, which is, totally reasonable, I just looked at a few dollar charts and said, oh, those targets are looking pretty good based off the expectations for a US dollar. And this is where I get those expectations from. So spend the time, read through these outlooks, learn what they're saying, and then come in, post a trade plan or two. Here's the trade plan I posted earlier today on Euro Yen. So let's go ahead and check it out, how that's performed so far. And considering Euro Dollar, right? Considering what happened with Euro Dollar, I'm totally expecting Euro Dollar to just, or Euro Yen, to here sink globally on the other chart. Let's go to a 2-hour. Yeah. I don't know, guys. I think that worked out. What do you guys think? Do you think that worked out? I'm being facetious here, but of course it worked out. Let's see here. The indicator does look a little different. That's only because I think this is using 3000 look back, a little too little data. There we go. 5,000 bars gets you more data, gets you slightly more accurate statistics. There you go. Yeah, so now this actually looks like the chart here on the left. So, yeah. Come into the trade group, post some trade plans, check out these trade plans, and leave the little money bags for the people who do post trade plans. Yeah. So, thank you guys very much for watching. I've been your boss, Joe Boss. This was Plan the Profit, daily plan, live every single day, 4:30 a.m. Pacific and also 7:30 a.m. Eastern. I'll be hanging out here in the trading room once the stream's over. And I'll see you guys